appearing in the second Dalek. The first Dalek story to appear on the first TV story with the Daleks in color. The first story with oh fuck's sake. The first Dalek story and continue in its favourite and retain its third place overall, which, to be honest, I think is a bit cheating. The Doctor Who the Avengers Endgame, taking the Daleks back to basics for this exciting first New Year's Eve adventure. And is the last one considered and they've appeared in every and they've appeared in the majority of and they've appeared in multiple anniversary adventures, including Planet of the Daleks for season 10, the 10th anniversary. No, and Destination besides their appearance in Day of the Doctor, but their only guest appearance. And also some of their best. Dalek first aired on the 27th of May. Actually, let me check the dates for those. Whilst Bad Wolf and Departing of the Ways aired on the 11th and 18th of June 2000. Dalek is the episode that reveals. However, the Doctor does not reveal who of his. However, whilst the Doctor does confirm that there was however, whilst the Doctor does speak about the Time War. However, whilst the Time War is referenced and the Doctor opens up to Rose about it in The End of the World, and Russell T Davies, it's also more of that in our multi-member Rose review. More of that in our multi-member Rose review. This also allowed them to build up. So as well as allowing to, and with the dark, and it would also give them a lot more time to promote and make press, and it would also make them a lot more. In the episode Dalek, this is Robert Sherman's one and only TV script, but Robert Sherman is well known for being a popular Doctor Who expanded media writer, specifically for the. This is Robert Did you please? He's into assignment now. That was about that. Hang on. What is other ones considered the best? It's okay. Yeah, I know most of the ones. Okay. And one of these super popular, and one of his Big Finish works, Jubilee, was, and one of his and the Daleks have kind of become a bit of a pulp culture thing, kind of a pop culture. So a bit of a meta content. So without the the rubber. Already we can tell that in this adventure, especially with Christopher Eccleston's Ninth Doctor, and to a lesser extent David Tennant's 10th Doctor, and slightly less, especially with the ninth. But whilst there has been a bit of a moral compass towards him and the Daleks see destiny. And the way it is shown. This episode, like Resolution later down the line, proves how dangerous whilst Resolution would then decide to. And so we have an interesting new take on the mutations. So we have an interesting take on the mutation. So we have an interesting take before we then have its new casing reveal and it's back to Daleks doing Dalek stuff in Dalek case before the familiar shape. I think both work really well. We're reintroducing the Daleks back in Series 1, so going through casing first before showing the mutant works effectively, while Series 11, we've had loads of stories with the Daleks in cases. Let's have one where the mutants take centre stage before it eventually gets itself a new casing later on. Sort of a way to reintroduce the Daleks into that era. And yeah, which is quite interesting because the Daleks, and yeah, when Daleks are just on their own, they do like to, and yeah, both stories, yeah. But the story also has some really good emotional stuff with the Ninth Doctor and the Dalek, and we have some amazing scenes with a really angry Doctor who just wants this bastard creature to die. And the Dalek is just soaking up his hatred and even adding to what I find which is difficult to yeah. It is just absolutely amazing. Oh, I'm struggling now. I'm actually struggling to talk. The end of this Dalek, but Rose it has seen the creature kill a lot of, as it's been trapped in that bunker for over 50 years, or but it also does place the moral ground. So the Doctor in something that would be. I think that basically is a poignant when he's asked not the Daleks kill. Despite the Dalek, the humans and in a way, it shows that the Daleks couldn't change. And yeah, which brings us to a new companion, Adam Mitch. Go to around the year 2100. That's 2000, 100, by the way. In that episode, they discover that and with the help of a man called the Editor, played by the based Simon Pegg, who also narrates this series of Doctor Who Confidential, who also. And whilst the Doctor and Rose are able, and whilst the Doctor is able to, and whilst one of the news reporters, Kafika, yeah. Okay, put that back when I said 2100. We then return 100 years later for the events of that. We now return 100 years later in terms of the setting. 100 years later for the setting. Oh no, it's 2001. It's 2000. 2100. Yeah. In the year 2000. Okay, put that back when I said 2100. But 100 years later, for the setting, Satellite 5, etc., the Doctor and Rose return, as well as another male companion, who we won't talk about, but it's not Adam. As well as Captain Jack replacing, as well as with Captain Jack replacing Adam. Hang on, oh, stop, shit. To see the results of the up there with stories such as Genesis of the Daleks, Remembrance of the Daleks, and the fan favorite. Up there alongside fan favorite. And the base, if not more so, as mentioned in that story, as well as other stories such as Victory of the Daleks. Even the one Dalek can be just. The story that followed Dalek was The Long Game, and whilst it doesn't have as much of a reputation, and whilst the reputation isn't as good as Dalek's, it still holds up. And whilst its reputation isn't as good as, or its successing story, it does, and possibly it's time to meet the Bad Wolf and the path. It's time. And that story, Sylvester McCoy's Cross. Praise to Sylvester. I said Remembrance was my second favourite of all time. Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways is this, including a climactic finale, which would see the second appearance of the Doctor's most famous enemies once again in the revival, including a return after they served as an overarching series foe following the events of Dalek. The story follows not long after the events of Boomtown, the penultimate story and the third to last episode of the series. The series being 13 episodes, so these ones are the series being 13 episodes, so these act as episodes 12 and 13. After the events of Boomtown and after dropping off the baby, after the events of Boomtown and after visiting Raxifalacoris, or something along those lines. And they are taking part in old 20th and 21st century game shows, revamped for the revamped with a dead. The Doctor is transported to Big Brother, Captain Jack to whatever the TV show Trini and Susanna were wearing. Actually, I'll cut that. The Doctor. Linda with an I, not a Y. Is it a Y or an I? So, with a with a nothing left to lose attitude, the Doctor storms upstairs to the floor high. But when it turns out the controller had. Well, it turns out Satellite 5's controller, which used for other humans from across the fourth and great and bound fourth, or other humans across the fourth great and beautiful human empire, fourth great and bountiful human age, or other humans across the fourth great and bound great bound and beyond beautiful human empire. I think I got that right. It took me a good couple of goes to actually get it right, so it better be. the Dalek. As it's revealed, the Dalek Emperor has been the one. As soon as the Doctor arrives, the Daleks are rumbled at the cliffhanger to Boomtown. The cliffhanger to fuck's sake. But like they're putting it into fast track mode after the Doc. Now Bad Wolf is the slightly weaker part. Depending on when you watch the story, the game show stuff can feel either both very relevant. Fuck. The game show angles was sort of a bit of meta commentary at the time, and whilst they do seem like, as Mr. TARDIS again has mentioned in both his original and it gives all. They build. Bad Wolf also starts to focus. Also, Boomtown and Bad Wolf start to focus. Okay, for reals, Bad Wolf is that is building up more, which is building on from the mysterious phrase dropped and dripped around. Russell's so good at doing that. And this is before Captain Jack even sniffed Cardiff Bay. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's after. Parting of the ways is when things really get interesting. As after the Doctor and Captain Jack arrive on the Dalek ship and save Rose, they are then met by the Dalek Empire. Empire. Why did I say Empire? Yeah. Which makes them even more dangerous. As the Doctor says, that what's make. He then gets, much to her distraught. Linda, in some really distressed. These, like, even with Captain Jack's suggestion of, like, but that eventually leads to them going to floor 500. But that eventually ends to, in possibly the most darkest. It's pretty damn. These are merciless, unstoppable killing machines in this episode and back in. And even then, there was a. This is the Doctor Falls of where, although whilst he, until it was changed, but that's more about. Well, until the decision was changed, but that's more about David. As the Emperor points out, the Delta, and especially poignant for this one because of his post-war incarnated post. Well, if Doctor Who was only going to have one more series in the 21st century, this is a damn well fantastic finale to end the show. One fantastic final season to go out on, and then it's laid to rest. Maybe it'll pop back up again sometime later. But for right now, this would be an excellent ending. Both in her first episode and both in her episode. But other characters who have been inspired to save the day include Jabe. The TARDIS does feel like it gives its. And it comes to. at the cost of his own life. So the night, but not the way he was in. Had Series 2 been happened, and to live, and another in other senses, and this one is just kind of handled, and yeah, it's amazing, yeah. So, with a smile on his face, the Ninth Doctor regenerates into David Tennant's 10th, and we can be rest assured, the show and we can be rest assured, both the universe in the story, and we can be this story. This is there's several episodes this series, including Dalek, and that's one of the best post-regeneration stories that people don't really talk about. In fact, it's probably the best one people don't really talk about, and it's one of the best in overall. It's really, it's difficult to explain. Yeah. Minus one episode, though he would get one more episode as well. This is the case of Androzani of the new series. This is if the case of this is Genesis, and then also went to the 21st century. This story is so good. This is an absolute, and in terms of the Daleks is being and mad for and the bad. So, with that being said, the Dalek stories of Doctor Who Series 1 are some of the best, if not two of the. So, that's it. Thank you everybody for watching, and as we celebrate. But until then, thank you for watching once again. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. So thank you for. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Whoniversals YouTube channel. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne bonus content YouTube channel.